Class is in session, hitting the books. College basketball show Tuesday, March the 4th. Ian Cameron, Connor Mack will be here momentarily, and it is another big college basketball slate. We got a little conference tournament action once again as conference tournament play is underway. We cashed a best bet by the slimmest of margins. Man, was that a sweat with Central Arkansas plus 19.5 in the Atlantic Sun tournament first round against Lipscomb. But, man, they survived and got the point spread cover, losing by 18. We'll take it. And hopefully we've got more winning action coming up here on this Tuesday. So let's get into it. We'll start with the regular season game-by-game previews here in the power conferences. Georgia and South Carolina to get things going. We've got Georgia 1-point road favorites, 138 the total in this game. The Georgia Bulldogs, two massive back-to-back wins for them to put themselves back in the discussion of maybe being in the tournament for Mike White and company with the win against Florida, suffering no letdown and going on the road and just hammering the Texas Longhorns. I think that might have been even more impressive that there was no letdown for Georgia in that game. We'll see if they can keep things rolling here tonight. Not easy, though, because South Carolina just beat Arkansas big at home. The Gamecocks have played much, much better, much more competitive basketball on their home floor for Lamont Paris. It feels like this could be a tough spot for Georgia, but they have not suffered a letdown yet. And if that continues and they keep playing well, they certainly are capable of winning. I just don't know if I'd be willing to bet them to do that. I'm actually leaning to the Gamecocks here at a pick 'em at home. It's been a good home court. I also like the over. South Carolina is starting to score. Georgia's been an over machine. They've started to put the ball in the basket. Their defense continues to give up some points. So I like over the total here as when it comes to Georgia and South Carolina. Rutgers versus Purdue in the Big Ten. We've got Purdue, pretty sizable 10.5, 11-point home favorite here in this game. The total sitting at pretty much 151.5 across the board. I look at this situation here with Rutgers and Purdue. Rutgers is in that spot that I've talked about a lot this season, where you lose at home as to a conference opponent and you're on the road catching big points. I did take Rutgers here plus 11.5 because of that. Now, I get it. Purdue got right in their last game against UCLA at home and got the job done on Friday night. So we'll see if Purdue can keep it rolling here. But there's a lot of points. We saw Rutgers. They should have beat Michigan last week, obviously. They led most of that game. They led by double digits early in the second half, and somehow, some way, Michigan came all the way back and won that game. The Rutgers, if they play that well again, and that's the big if, can they duplicate and replicate the effort they brought to Chrysler Arena last week against Michigan? But if they can, I think they can stay inside this number. Let's not forget Purdue. It only took till late in that game before they pulled away and beat UCLA by 10. So I think Rutgers is the side here. Certainly would lean to the over here with this game. Rutgers more up and down this year. Defense has fallen off a bit. Purdue continues to be, especially at home, a high scoring, and their defense continues to be a question mark for me. So the over is the way I would bet this game as far as the total here in this one. Baylor and TCU. We've got Baylor 3.5-point road favorites, 139.5 the total in this game. Baylor, I'm telling you what, they're at the point now where with this little funk that they've been on, I wouldn't take their standing and spot in the tournament for granted if I'm Scott Drew and the Bears. First of all, their offense has fallen off. They haven't been getting stops as well on the defensive end of late. And there's no doubt their play is getting worse, not better, in some of these recent games and what we've seen from them. This is a revenge spot for Baylor. TCU, was able to win in Waco earlier this season against Baylor. So Baylor will be looking for a little redemption here on the road against TCU. It's a backs against the wall spot for Baylor. I think the betting markets kind of sense that because Baylor opened as road favorites and they've actually taken a little bit of money. I could see them winning this game. I'm going to trust Baylor in this spot and lay the 3.5. I feel like they need this one badly. Jamie Dixon's done yeoman's work with a kind of a shorthanded TCU team. He's gotten, I think a pretty good effort from this team for the most part this year. But I like that. I think for Baylor, this is kind of a line in the sand type of spot for them. They need to be able to respond, and I think Baylor's got the opportunity to do that. I think they've just got the guards at the end of the day to make shots in a close game, and I think that's something TCU, kind of lacks. And certainly, trying to figure things out. The one thing about TCU, they're not a great jump shooting team, and I think that's kind of where Baylor, so they can often force you into those. That's where the advantage might swing toward Baylor here. So Baylor 3.5 here in this one. Good to see our friend Morgan Spooner here. Spoon's Bets. Apparently, he's got some info about Vermont. And talking about how one of their best players, Shamir Bogues, and he's a big difference maker for the Catamounts, is out for tonight. And that's a shame because I think I already bet Vermont, quite honestly, in that game, laying the 4.5, 5. That hasn't moved yet, but they're playing Albany in America East action. But that is a big loss for Vermont. Vermont's been a different team here in the back half of the season, but that's significant if you're betting Vermont that he won't play, and that is a difference maker. Make no mistake about it for Vermont. All right, Villanova, Georgetown, old school Big East rivalry here. We've got Villanova around a 5-point road favorite, 5.5 now in some spots, 142. At what point does this line get too big? I laid 4.5 with Villanova. It's gone up even further since then, 5.5. I mean, for Villanova, they're playing some good basketball. This is the kind of spot where sometimes you worry about Kyle Neptune getting tripped up, in these road spots when they're favored and they're expected to win. But how do you have confidence in Georgetown? They look like they've hit the wall. They are not guarding and defending worth a shit right now. They are a depleted group. They don't have a very deep bench at this point in time. They're just playing the same 6-7 guys every game, and I think they're just being worn down, and they're wearing out here throughout the grind of the Big East schedule. So, I mean, if you're taking Georgetown, certainly you're going to take them based on situationals, but everything about the roster at the moment, the fact that just defensively they've completely come unglued, it's just a tough team to back right now with double-digit losses in 3 straight games entering tonight. Villanova can't screw around here. You've got to lock down a victory here. They're very much, on the bubble as far as the tournament's concerned. You got to take care of business here in this spot if you're Villanova. And this is one of those spots, too. Georgetown snuck out of Villanova with a victory back in January. So road revenge for Villanova, which has often been a good spot. I can't believe I'm laying points on the road with Villanova, but I just think it's a tall order right now for Georgetown and how depleted they are. So I'm going to for one night, I'm going to trust Villanova here on the road, laying the 5.5. Texas, Mississippi State, as we go back to the SEC, Mississippi State 7-point home favorites, 151.5 the total in this game. This is one of those be careful spots because I know everyone saw what happened to Texas, and that was shocking. What was shocking about that is they got Georgia off the big win against Florida. People thinking maybe a letdown for Georgia, and there was nothing of the sort. Georgia went into Texas, and they laid a beat down on Texas, 83-67. It was a horrific performance by Texas. And this, you got to put the blame here on Rodney Terry, who was never, to me, the best choice they could have made, as far as a head coaching hire for this team. But they have lost their way on defense. Look at this run when they've gone 1-6 in their last 7 games. Look at the points they've allowed. 78 to Arkansas, 86 to Vandy, 103 to Alabama, 78 to Kentucky, 84 to South Carolina, 86 to Arkansas, and then 83 against Georgia. I love this over. I mean, I've been on some Texas overs lately. 8 straight Longhorns games have gone over the total because of this total lack of regard for defense. And Mississippi State, they're no defensive juggernaut. They're not a team that under Chris Jans has played consistently at that end of the floor. They've managed to go 7-2 to the over in their last 9 games. So I love the over in this game more than anything. Total in the 151.5 range. I think it's a game that can get up and over this total. Neither team is guarding at a consistent rate. I would say be careful laying the 7 here with Mississippi State because an old handicapping angle of mine in this sport especially, when you get blown out at home and then you go on the road in your next game and you're catching points, sometimes bettors aren't going to be lining up to back Texas after what they saw Saturday. And sometimes teams rise up when you don't expect them to in that spot. So I'd be careful about laying 7 with Mississippi State. It is a leap of faith to bet Texas. I get that. With this dismal run, 1-6 straight up, 0-7 against the spread, not playing any defense, Texas. But be careful here. I think this could be, after the embarrassing loss at home, maybe you get an effort here from this Texas team. And Texas, look, they're playing for their tournament lives right now. They can't afford many more slip-ups, but I like the over more than anything here, Texas and Mississippi State. All right, Auburn and Texas A&M. Auburn 4.5-point road favorites, 151 the total. So Auburn has looked like a team that, they're like Duke, good luck trying to fade them. If you've been trying to fade them, it hasn't gone well. They pound Ole Miss. I went against them. I didn't go against them with Kentucky, and thankfully that was the case. 94-78, just a beat down at Rupp Arena over Kentucky. But that win locked up outright regular season title, the outright SEC regular season title for Auburn, and the number 1 seed in the SEC tournament. So this game is kind of inconsequential. They have the Alabama Iron Bowl rivalry rematch coming up in Auburn at the Jungle this weekend. I mean, it really is a perfect setup for A&M and for Buzz Williams' team to just rise up here and really give Auburn not only a tough game, but maybe challenge to win this game outright. The question you have to ask yourself is, are they good enough to do it? Yes, Auburn's got nothing on the line here. Yes, Auburn could see a dip in their intensity for this game because of that. But is A&M good enough to take advantage of it? Because this team's 0-4 in their last 4 games, straight up in ATS. Blowout loss to Mississippi State on the road, blowout loss at Florida, their last 2 road games. And then at home, and this is at home for them, but even at home, they lose as a favorite to Vandy. They lose as a favorite to Tennessee. So there's been some struggles here for for Texas A&M. But this is senior night, and Wade Taylor is a senior that will get honored. This guy has been a backbone, a pillar a foundational pillar, if you will, for this Texas A&M program. You got to think this is an extra special senior night because of that. And again, for Auburn, this is a spot where, again, with everything wrapped up and you play Alabama, which, make no mistake about it, it's the bigger game for them. This is a spot where I think A&M could step up, and if they play well, that is, be in this game and maybe even win outright. But I'm going to take that chance that's the type of game and effort we get from A&M tonight. So I'm going to take A&M here plus 4.5 against Auburn, and hope that Auburn kind of goes through the motions just a little bit tonight with everything locked up, including the number 1 seed in the SEC tournament, the regular season title. We got CMAC in the house with us now.
Yeah.
What do you think here of this one? Interesting spot. Auburn here taking on Texas A&M.
Yeah, this is kind of a sandwich spot, like you just said, for Auburn. I mean, they've just been so good on the road. What kind of gives here? Desperate A&M team. This is senior night right here. And if they play well, when I look at this total, it leads me to the under. But I don't know if we get there. Both teams get to the free throw line a ton. And A&M, not a great free throw shooting team. Auburn, decent. But they both get there a lot. And one of the biggest things I didn't bet on Saturday was that Auburn over. But man, it just flew over again.
It did. Yep.
They just keep going over. And the other one we were talking about was the Oklahoma game. That just went over like crazy as well. But so this total's tough because I think A&M has to slow this down, play their style of game. I lean their way. Like me, there's been teams, Alabama on the road, Auburn, that I've gone against and ate it. I will face the facts because it's the truth. So I haven't bet this, though. This is still just a way for me. I want A&M. That's it.
All right, we go to BYU, Iowa State. Iowa State here laying 8.5. Hilton Magic here, the total 149.5. Yeah, I'm taking Iowa State again. This is senior night for them. Hilton Coliseum. I think they probably have a chance to not only win, but win decisively here tonight against BYU. I don't even know if the matchup's great for BYU because of the fact that, they are Iowa State does play with that level of physicality, no question. Good rebounding team, tenacious. It's not the kind of team that BYU is. And, you could worry about that a little bit for them going on the road against this game, handling a team that plays with the tenacity that Iowa State does. I don't think it's a great matchup for BYU either. So I certainly had Iowa State up there as one of my favorite bets on Saturday. If you watched last Friday's show, I said one of the better sides I thought was Iowa State laying the points against Arizona, and they got it done wire to wire. You won't see me going against this team at Hilton, and especially not on senior night. And I think it's a good matchup for Iowa State too. So laying the 8.5 here with Iowa State against BYU. CMAC, what do you think?
Yeah, I think you lay it here. I just don't think this BYU team, they've done all right against like UCF, teams like that on the road. So I have to give them credit there. I just don't think they're very good defensively at all. It looks like their forward here, Catchings, is going to be out. That's pretty big. They've been decent. I think he's been out the last couple, but he's going to be out again. I think this is a tough road spot. I think you lay it as well in this game. I know it's up there, 8.5, 9, but I think that's the way to roll. I agree.
All right, Arkansas and Vanderbilt here. We got Vanderbilt 7.5-point home favorites, 150 being the total in this game. You got Arkansas. Man, did they get smashed? Holy shit, by South Carolina on Saturday on the road, and that definitely dealt a blow to they're another team that they're right on the fringe of the tournament. They're right on the bubble, Arkansas, John Calipari's team. So they need a response here, and they got their doors blown off by South Carolina in that game, and it's not going to get any easier. We've talked about how great Vanderbilt is at home. What a game that was by Vanderbilt and Missouri on Saturday. And Vanderbilt, hey, they didn't play good early, but credit to Mark Byington. What a coaching job by this guy. They battled back. They forced overtime, and the Commodores were able to come back and get the win in that one. But boy, oh boy, they exerted a lot to come back and win that game. And now, as much as I love Vandy at home, they're laying a big number here. And for Arkansas, this is, again, every game is pivotal for them because a loss here could put them further out of the tournament bubble, and a win here on the road against Vanderbilt could be in the field, quite honest, because Vanderbilt's in. Vanderbilt punched their ticket. Vanderbilt is, I think, for sure in the tournament, regardless of what happens the rest of the way. They have done enough, in my opinion. Arkansas needs to do more, and just from a spot standpoint, Vandy's coming off the barn burner. I don't know if they're going to have the energy as much tonight, and Arkansas, this game means everything. I think there's some strong situationals that point to taking Arkansas plus the points. The question is going to be, do you trust this team to go on the road against a great Vandy team? And knowing that I probably give the coaching edge to Byington as well, but I'm worried about the spot here for the home favorite. CMAC, what do you think here, Arkansas, Vanderbilt?
Yeah, I mean, how many guys here too will Arkansas have? They're just shorthanded and not very deep. Yeah, Vandy does a big win. I mean, I desperately needed it on Saturday. I lean their way here. I know this is kind of a do or die for Arkansas. This is a game I don't want to get involved with. And I think Vanderbilt kind of does what they do, look to their team total, if not, because I think this could get over as much as like Arkansas is an under team. Yeah. Look there, or just single out Vanderbilt. Arkansas, when they've struggled, they can't score, and it just showed up the other day when they scored 53. So maybe look that route in this game.
All right, final regular season game on our game previews here. It's San Diego State and UNLV. San Diego State, 2.5-point road favorites, 130 the total. Off the top of my head, San Diego State, I know, is not scared of the Thomas and Mack Center, not scared of playing in Las Vegas. And they also lost at home earlier this season, San Diego State to UNLV. UNLV was a road underdog, went to Viejas Arena and beat the Aztecs earlier this season. I like how this sets up. San Diego State, money line for me, road revenge. UNLV, I credit to them. They're coming off the Nevada game. I think tough to follow that up. San Diego State here looking for a little bit of redemption. The money line price is cheap enough at minus 140 to take the Aztecs here. I like them to bounce back, get a road win here against UNLV. What do you think here, CMAC, San Diego State, UNLV?
Yeah, in that game, too, Nevada just couldn't hit a shot, it seemed like, for forever. I mean, I think they only had one.
They missed. Yeah, they missed a ton.
Yeah, they only had one turnover. I mean, I keep saying it down the line, Thomas is going to hurt. And this UNLV team, that was big. In the game before when they were at home, a couple before that, the Colorado State game, they were kind of winning. They just blew it down the stretch, and they couldn't hit any free throws. It just was like miss. This is, revenge for San Diego State. And you're right that they don't mind going in there. It hasn't been a problem at all. But senior night for the Rebels, I think this game's tight in the end. I kind of want the 3 with UNLV. I just don't know if I trust them enough here. So just got to lean.
No, I don't blame you for that. All right, next up as we continue along here, conference tournament action for our remaining games here on our game-by-game previews. We start with the Sun Belt. Coastal Carolina taking on Southern Miss in the first round of the Sun Belt tournament. Southern Miss, 3.5-point favorites, 140 the total. This is in Pensacola Bay Center is where these games are taking place. Southern Miss, I think, did show some life down the stretch. Coastal's very bad. It's not like Southern Miss is much worse, though. And offensively, they can have droughts. I find on a neutral court, I don't trust Southern Misses now. 3.5? I think if you got to pick them, okay. But to win by more than a possession, I don't trust them. I think Coastal at +3.5 or +4. I'm interested in the Chanticleers here. C-Mac, what do you think?
Yeah, me too. I've took a Coastal a few times as a dog, and they've come through. I mean, they can be a real struggle at times to score. But I don't know if the Southern Miss, this move now to 3.5, 4, really? I don't know. On a neutral, I think it's a lean to Coastal. It's just some of these teams are just so bad. But maybe Southern Miss is that bad too. I just don't think they should be laying really 3.5, 4, even though if they might be slightly better. So, yeah, I kind of agree. I hadn't bet this. This game tips here in 30 minutes, too. With Coastal.
No doubt. All right, next up, we've got UL Monroe. And another thing, too, is if you think the team's going to win the game, that's the team you want to bet, because last night in the Atlantic Sun, other than Lipscomb, and Lipscomb was laying a huge number, every team that won the game also covered the point spread last night in the Atlantic Sun.
This time of year, it's always, I do it with dogs always, a little bit, but I think it's a little bit more because in these tournaments and in the dance too, they not only they outright win. So I totally agree.
Doubt. It's more so handicap the game as to who you think is going to win, and then whoever you think is going to win straight up, just take them, whether it's laying points, whether it's taking points, because a lot of times the team that wins also covers this time of year. You do notice that, no doubt. All right, the other Sun Belt first-round game, Battle of Louisiana, Monroe and Louisiana, the Ragin' Cajuns. I think the Cajuns are the better team and will advance, but do you want to lay 5.5 is the question. Monroe's pretty bad. I lean to the total's taking a hit. I mean, both of these teams, especially Monroe on offense, they can be really, really tough to watch at times, struggle to score. So I think it's a Louisiana advances, but rivalry game, I don't like laying 5.5. C-Mac, what do you think?
Monroe's that bad. There's still, because there's a few 139s out here, I think there's still room for the under. I just don't trust both these teams. Now, Monroe's so bad, like Lafayette could maybe score 75, but I don't know how Monroe gets to 65, really. Especially, I think, as down the stretch, Lafayette, other than Arkansas State, they played pretty well, especially on the defensive end. They're just both these teams so slow, not great shooting. So even with this number, as you talked about, it's come down a couple of points. I still think there's room here for the under.
All right, Horizon League tournament gets underway. First round, Green Bay, Phoenix, Oakland Golden Grizzlies. Oakland 10.5-point home favorites, 146.5 the total. Well, we know who has a coaching advantage here. That's Greg Campy over Doug Gottlieb here, who's obviously had a nightmare season. That said, Green Bay has started to cover numbers because, the power rating has fallen so low on them that, they've been getting inflated points, and now they've started to actually cover some of these big numbers. I don't think there's a chance in hell Green Bay is winning this game, but, you are talking about laying 10.5 in a conference tournament game. I think the over could get there. We did see these two teams just played over the weekend, and it was an over there in that one with Green Bay and Oakland. It's just a coaching mismatch, and a quick turnaround like this where it's the same two teams playing. You really do factor in that Campy's just a way better coach, and I do worry about that maybe this is the one that gets away from Green Bay a little bit. But I'm not laying 10.5. I like the over a little bit. That's about it here for me. C-Mac, what do you think here, Green Bay and Oakland?
Yeah, I kind of lean over, too, with this Green Bay score enough. The shitty thing is, Green Bay just got the cover, here. I worry they could get their ass kicked. They've been playing better basketball a little bit too late.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fucking bums. But they've covered a ton down the stretch. I think the last 5. So, yeah, I take the points here with Green Bay. You know, if I had to, free bet, take it.
Detroit, Northern Kentucky. Northern Kentucky, 13-point home favorites, 139.5 the total. I think Oakland's a longer shot. Remember, this is a Horizon League tournament where the number 1 seed always falls. The number 1 seed always loses. Never wins this damn tournament. So look for some longer shots. I think Oakland, you can never discount Greg Campy. He's that good of a coach. Oakland's a good longer shot. I think this Northern Kentucky team is a very good longer shot because this team always makes a run in the Horizon League tournament. Doesn't matter what they do in the regular season. This team is always making a run in the Horizon League tournament, Northern Kentucky. And Northern Kentucky started to play well last few weeks of the regular season as well. Doesn't mean I want to I'm not backing them tonight because it's a lot of points. That being said, I think look ahead to the future, and there's going to be some opportunities, I think, to maybe look at backing Northern Kentucky in this tournament. This is an over I really like, C-Mac. Detroit all of a sudden has been a sneaky over team lately. They've been defending poorly, but they've been making a few more shots. Northern Kentucky's offense has really started to spring to life, and they've kind of been trending over the total. I thought to be able to get a total in the 130s in this game was very cheap. I like this over quite a bit. C-Mac, what do you think here?
Yeah, I could see this getting over. That's one thing. You know, with the changes they've made a little bit, can this Northern Kentucky team continue to score like this? Because I think of this team, I don't think they're very, very good. Maybe some of the stuff they've been working on and been a lot better as of late. And there's just no way this team hasn't been able to cover this number all year long. Detroit Mercy, too, from all the numbers, a little bit better defense, you know, at least this year than Northern Kentucky. I think they match up all right. I think you on this floor, you want the points with them.
All right, like in Detroit. I think Detroit could cover. I don't think they win this game because Northern's playing pretty well, but it is a lot of points.
It's just a shit ton here.
Yeah.
Northern Kentucky just doesn't do enough for me.
How about Wright State?
A number
They've
like
been a disappointment this year. They're laying 9.5 to IU Indianapolis here in the third Horizon League first-round game. This is one where Wright State, if they play up to their level of talent, which they haven't done this year, they could win by double digits because IU Indianapolis can be flighty, but I don't have that great confidence here. This is a game where another one where I lean to the over just a little bit at 152.5. There's going to be some pace in this game, but Wright State wins. I don't know about the 9.5 though. It's a big number. You know, it's one of those games where I could see Wright State by 4 or 5. I could see Wright State by 12 in this one. What do you think here, C-Mac?
This is the path for me. I think Wright State wins this, but I'm not going to lay points with them at all.
All right, the Patriot League. We've got 2 first-round games here. We got Lafayette, 7-point home favorites against Holy Cross, 137.5 the total there, and Lehigh, Loyola, Maryland. Loyola, Maryland, 3-point home favorites, 139 the total in this game. Holy Cross, I like their coach quite a bit. They have had a tumultuous season. They've had injuries. They've had times when they have not played very well at all, this Holy Cross Crusaders basketball team. But the coach is pretty good. It's now conference tournament, kind of wiped the slate clean. And to be quite honest with you, look at Lafayette down the stretch. You know, didn't exactly play their best. They're laying 7 now. Dave Paulson, like I said, is a pretty good coach here for Holy Cross. I could see them being in this game. I don't know about win it, but talking about getting 6.5, 7 with Holy Cross. And then in the other game, Loyola, Maryland definitely had the better regular season than Lehigh. And Lehigh is just not quite that same Lehigh Hawks team that we've seen in the past. But what have we seen from Lehigh over the years in the Patriot League tournament? That sometimes even when they've had a up and down, disappointing regular season, they hit a switch in the conference tournament, hit the reset button, and look out. Here comes Lehigh. Out of nowhere playing great basketball. I'm not going to say that's going to happen tonight, but I'm interested in the +3 here with Lehigh here in this one. C-Mac, Patriot League, what do you think of the 2 games there?
I think both. I think Holy Cross could be in that game. I like the under a lot better. I like Lehigh, and this has moved. You know, I remember better at home but I don't trust them enough here in this spot. But I don't know if I really want my money on Lehigh either.
This is a culture
So,
bet for me. The culture of this team, just somehow, some way, good or bad regular season, they find themselves in the conference tournament. That's kind of what I'm banking on here. Maybe it's not meant to be, but that's kind of what I'm going on with it.
I think so too. I mean, they'd be the lean for me. And then the other game under Holy Cross, Lafayette.
All right, there you go. There's our game-by-game preview. CMAC, the floor is yours because you joined us late. What games do you like here tonight that we haven't talked about?
Let's just get to it because you got to bounce. I'll give you my best bet
time crunch.
here.
3 minutes.
Yep. I'll give it to you. I still think the number's good because there's 139. Monroe, Lafayette under 139. Just not enough scoring here. Slow. It stays under.
All right, there you go. Short and sweet, just one.
That's it. Best bet. I want to get out of here, so we're good.
Yeah, Monroe Lafayette. There you go. Under 139. There are still some 139s out there, so make sure you shop around. Okay, I'm going to run through a few of these that I'm looking at here tonight. I like the Roadrunners. Meet. Memphis is off a huge win at UAB, which gave them that, first place pretty much in the AAC. Now they go on the road, UTSA. This is kind of a letdown spot for the Tigers potentially. The Roadrunners, I think, they got right. They got well. They got back on track, destroying Rice over the weekend at home. I think they keep that game close with Memphis there. Lean to the over there as well, Memphis and UTSA. I really do like that one. There's not really much else that stands out. A lot of the games I liked in the regular season games are the ones we talked about. You know, I kind of lean St. Louis a little bit, but I've been burned by them on the road at times, although I don't feel Dayton's playing their best right now. But you could talk me into taking St. Louis there with the points in that game. What else was of interest to me? You know, I'm on New Mexico, even though Nevada's, pick them at home. I don't trust Nevada to beat good teams in this conference. I just don't. So I'm actually on Richard Pitino there in the New Mexico Lobos in that game. And I think the over with Arizona State, Arizona, probably a good play. I could see Arizona land down a shit ton of points in that game with the Sun Devils and the Wildcats. And my best bet to wrap up the show here for this Tuesday, we cashed with Central Arkansas last night. I'm going to be bold here and go with Texas A&M plus the 5 against Auburn. I just feel it. I feel this is the right time for Auburn to have a bit of a clunker. They've locked up everything. First seed in the SEC tournament, the regular season title. They got Bama, their rival, on deck. A&M steps up at home in a big-time important game for them to get back on track, and I think they, at the very least, take this game down to the wire. So I'm going to go with Texas A&M plus 5 against Auburn for my best bet. Shout out to the chat. Rick J., Daryl Turner, Old E, Gold Jew, Kelly McGinnis, Jorge Herrera, Max Knows Bets, Spoons Bets, Morgan Spooner, good to see you. GNL Photo, Justin McKelvey. Hit the like button on the way out. For Connor Mack, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Tuesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck, and we'll be back tomorrow on Wednesday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, for another edition of the College Basketball Hitting the Books show. Until then, class dismissed.
Peace.